Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today is Tuesday, 17th September, 8:42 in the morning. And we're going to have a high of 87. We're at 76 right now. And I was sitting outside getting ready for the broadcast, and it actually drizzled, and the ground got wet, and I was hearing thunder. Amazing, huh? That's very early to see rain in Israel. Very, very early. It wasn't much, but it's. I don't remember it like this ever, and I've been here a number of years. Okay, what we're going to cover today is rather important. I would have put red alert, but I didn't have enough space. There's a large amount of Russian submarines, of nuclear powered and battery diesel operated submarines on the east coast of America, the west coast of America, and in the Gulf of America. There's been tremendous, yesterday, air traffic of American military planes over America. Now you got to remember that Israel puts a lot of fighter jets in the air when missiles come in, because they could take missiles out, drones too. Okay? Fighter jets have missiles on them that are used predominantly in the past for fighting against another fighter jet, but they could also take out a missile. Okay? There are subs sighted off the UK, in UK waters, I understand, but I haven't heard China. I know the headline is misleading because I didn't have enough space, but they're Russian subs up there. Okay? Putin is getting ready for a very large, substantial push into Ukraine. China and Russia, a day or two ago, I think they're still there, had a total of 400 ships in the Asia Pacific theater, not far from Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, conducting exercises. Putin just had a military convoy destroyed by a HIMARS, relatively long-range missile. That wasn't the ones he's worried about going deep into Russia, but they go into Russia. Okay? Alright, we'll get into the details. There's other stuff happening too. And in the Middle East, Israel's getting ready to change their Minister of Defense, Gallant, for this other guy. Gallant doesn't want to invade Lebanon, the other guy does. It appears that Netanyahu is going to change him, but it hasn't happened yet, so it may not happen. Hochstein is going, well, Blinken is in Egypt, or coming to Egypt, to try to work something out with Gaza. You know, look, it's failed for 11 months. Don't think it's going to get anywhere now. There's no reason that I should think that. And Hochstein is going to Lebanon. He may already have gone or coming. And he wants to try to negotiate some sort of a, I don't know the right word, a ceasefire-ish deal, to turn the heat down, where the Hezbollah go behind the Litani River line, which is the UN mandate, which is about 17 to 18 miles from the Israel-Lebanon border. And I seriously doubt that Hezbollah is going to say, okay, we're in. Now, the hypersonic missile from Yemen, what we're hearing here in Israel is it was not hypersonic, number one. Number two, Israel took a few shots at it with anti-missile systems and then hit it. And it was a proximity missile, both shrapnel up near the threatening projectile. Some of the shrapnel hit the missile was malfunctioning, they didn't fire any more missiles, and it fell down and caused no damage, no anything. Now, there's a lot of people out there that if Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis say, we have a new missile, okay? It goes 79,000 miles an hour and it has a 1,000 kilogram warhead. They believe it and they put it out there. These people are liars. These crazy terrorist states, the Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Iran, and the Houthis in Yemen, they lie. The Houthis in recent months have posted, made postings of things they said they destroyed in Israel we never heard of in Israel. They must have hit the Haifa port 5 times, according to them, and they never did. We'd all know it. We'd all see it. They said they decimated, or Hezbollah, somebody said that Hezbollah decimated a military base up near Lebanon. That, we don't know anything about this either. It never happened. There's a million things they say all the time that are not true. They want to keep the Muslims of the world rallying behind them and the protests continuing and all of this stuff, but they lie, okay? They lie and they lie and they lie, okay? We found the missile, we identified what it was. It wasn't a hypersonic, it was very identical to what Iran's missiles are, yet Iran said the Houthis make their own missiles. What? Okay, let me ask you a question. How many Nobel Prizes have you heard the Yemenites winning ever? What do they make? Do they make cars, trucks, TVs, refrigerators, stoves, ovens? What? I mean, nothing. They got it from Iran. What they want us to think is they got one from Russia. But if they got something from Russia, it wouldn't have been just one. The reality of hypersonic missiles is distorted. Just having a high-speed missile doesn't cause a problem for the interceptions, okay? What does cause a problem for the interceptions is if you have a high-speed missile, hypersonic missile, that can maneuver, a smart missile, and they don't have that. Whatever they had got taken down, okay? It was taken down. There's pictures and everything else. So let's get real. Israel is not terribly impressed like that just because the liar from the Houthis gets out there and says, we covered 2,000 kilometers in 11 and a half seconds. Come on. 11 and a half minutes, come on, If the Houthis in Iran or the Hezbollah said we established a missile launching site on the moon and we put 297 missiles up there with 500 kilogram warheads, and we could fire them down on anybody we want whenever we want, the people would publish it and say it's true. The Israeli military has very, very good intelligence, and I seriously doubt that it was a hypersonic missile, okay? And even if it was, it has to be maneuverable so it can't have a predictable trajectory. Okay, so it changes altitude during the flight. It goes from maybe 300 or 400 feet to 800, then it goes to 200, then it goes left and right and swerves, and then when you're tracking it and you launch your missile at it, the thing is bobbing and weaving, so to speak, and you're going to miss it. This wasn't the case here. Okay? The Israeli military is likely not lying because they accomplished the takedown. Why they didn't fire at it earlier could likely be they were interpreting it as not hitting a vital area. This is how our systems work. We have the radar and then a computer analyzes the path of the missile, and they probably thought that it wasn't going to hit anything, and then as it got closer they realized that it would, and then they started firing at it a few times and they took it down. So, but they don't believe it was a hypersonic, okay? Now all the anti-Israels around the world with their websites and social media are screaming it was a hypersonic. So let's not go, into that too deep. Okay. It looks like Israel's going to invade Lebanon, and Turkey says that would be a red line. Now, for him, Erdogan, whatever the heck his name is. Some people say it's Erdogan, McGregor, I don't know. Okay, it's a red line. So what's that mean? See what I'm saying? Putin, we crossed what, 30 red lines or something? America did. What? It's of course a red line. That doesn't mean he's going to do anything. Combining all this, Turkey is in Bible prophecy for these days, I believe, and he has been trying to rally the Arabs up. He's calling out an expansion of the Temple Mount on our part, which I don't see that in Israel. And he's trying to raise a big army to obliterate Israel, and blah 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 blah. But he probably will come into form. Sisi, the leader of Egypt, is now hanging on by a thread. Bible prophecy says there'll be a cruel leader in Israel. The contender to take Sisi out is probably the Muslim Brotherhood or their candidate, and they could be rather brutal. They're saying that Sisi is a puppet to the United States and Israel. How could it be a puppet when he let them smuggle in a good 10,000 big truckloads full of tunnel making equipment and weapons over the years? That's a little hard to not see. These are big trucks, okay? Now we go to Jordan, who is also in prophecy as attacking Israel. And Jordan is also hanging on by a thread. A few days ago, the entire Jordan parliament or Congress, whatever you want to call it, resigned. Now it's run by a king, so he's basically a dictator. And he has a lot of problems. One big problem he has is there's 11.4 million Palestinians living in Jordan that want to kill Israel. And he's trying to not get into war with Israel. And it looks to me like the king of Jordan is going to go. I've been telling you that for years, I think. And I've been telling you about Egypt getting a cruel leader also. So at this point, I'm going to go check the live stream, put a few posts up, and then we'll take this deep dive, okay? I'm going to start by making sure we got sound and picture in the live stream, which is reasonably important. Take this deep dive, okay. Okay, we got good sound and picture. Okay, I'm going to put up my offerings information real quick up in the chat and then pin it up there. Okay. Now I'm going to put my email up there if anybody wants to mail in email prayer request on email, or you can post it in the chat. I'll pick it up and get it out there. Give me the two initials of the person or persons you want the prayer for. Okay. Okay, I got. What do you want me to do about the barking dog? It's outside the house. Okay, being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise. If you join it or don't, it's up to you. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 You know, I think that's one of my dogs. Let me get it, drag the dog in, okay? It sounds like her bark. There's a neighbor dog that sounds like her too, but this sounds like mine. Hang on, I'll get her in. She shuts up when she's in the house. Yeah, it should be quieter now. It was her walking her head off. Alright. So let's go through the details of the subs off the coast of America. I put that up in my Telegram this morning. I'll just reference back there. And then I'm going to tie all this together with you, for you, with Bible prophecy. By the way, gold is staying over 2,500 for a while now. It's 2578 a little while ago in the morning in Israel, and that's pretty good because it's holding over 25. And silver's been holding over 30. It was $30 and I think 77 cents or 78, I don't know, something like that. More warmongering and it'll keep rising. probably spike. There was a pipeline explosion in America and Texas, and it was an SUV apparently rammed next to a Walmart parking lot, rammed into the um, pipeline and caused the explosion. So it was sabotage. The Chinese subs have just been seen off the west coast of America. They haven't been seen in the Gulf of Mexico, nor have they been seen on the East Coast. I imagine that they're also near Hawaii, but I haven't gotten anything specific about that. I'm guessing they are. What's going on today is much worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I know was 1961, maybe something like that. There's 11 Russian subs off the coast, off the east coast of America, and on the west coast, which would go from Alaska to San Diego, there's 9 nuclear-powered subs and 21 diesel subs. Now, diesel subs are harder to get because when they go underwater, they run on battery. They're quite silent, usually smaller, so they're more difficult to get. And that's why we've been getting reports of sub hunters from America flying all over the place, America and other countries, because there's a massive deployment of Russian subs. There's also been seen several Russian subs in the Gulf of Mexico. Many of these subs can fire missiles from under the water. Usually it's about 40 feet underneath. And the typical missile would be a cruise missile type thing, which can go long distances, hundreds of miles, depending on the missile and how it's configured, and can carry a rather nice warhead, a good sized warhead. Now, I believe they can launch other missiles as well. I doubt hypersonics, but it's possible. I don't know. Nobody really knows what Russia's capability is exactly, I guess. They're rumored, I hear somebody say they're about 60 miles off the coast of America. I don't know. There's also Russian subs and warships in Cuba. They go in and out. And they have probably in recent months brought missiles into Cuba as well. I would be surprised if they didn't. Okay. I don't think there's a lot of anti-missile systems at many American bases. I might be wrong, but Israel loads up at our bases. We have iron domes, arrows, David slings, all sorts of stuff protecting our bases. I don't think America does that very much. I'm sure they protect some of their facilities. Usually a sub will have about 16 missile launch tubes and can carry multiple times the 16 in spare missiles that they could load into the tubes while they're underwater. I mean, they just have the guys like loading torpedoes type of thing. So it's probably more tricky because it's vertical, but they probably have pulleys and things that do it. So I would say the least they would carry is 64 missiles, counting the 16 in the tubes, and they might have more. I think some of the American boats go way over 100 missiles. So if you're talking, 30 Russian subs, they could conduct something like a swarm attack. Okay? But if I'm interpreting Bible prophecy correctly, which we'll go through later, it's Washington, D.C. is their prime point. But they're probably also going to go after other places. They're going to probably go for tactical strategic targets. They're not going to hit apartment complexes and malls and stuff like that unless it's by mistake, accident or something. They're gonna go for military targets because they know there's going to be a heck of a reprisal to deal with, and they're not going to go not try to take out bases. They'll go for bases with aircraft. They'll go for Navy bases. They'll go for places where missiles are stored, things of that nature. So I don't believe they're going to go hit a 300 apartment complex in Miami or something like that. Wouldn't be the point of doing that. It just get everybody mad at them with no tactical advantage. So they're going to hit strategic targets. Knocking out Washington, D.C. would be the most propaganda-worthy target they could go after. New York City's another one. San Diego has a very big Navy base. I'm sure they got their eyes on that. Up around Washington, there's more bases. Alaska. These are the things they're going to go after. Now, why is Putin trying to mobilize a very large force to invade Ukraine? Because Putin thinks he can have his cake and eat it too. What I mean by this is he could overwhelm Ukraine and conquer Ukraine right to Kiev. And that would end the transfer of long-range missiles into Ukraine. And he thinks that NATO probably doesn't have the guts to attack from their own countries. I think he's wrong. But this is his last-ditch effort. Okay? And I would say there's a 99.9% chance that NATO is not going to let him conquer Ukraine. Now, Stolberg, or whatever his name is, the head of NATO in Europe, came out with a statement that was just showed sheer panic and idiocy. He said that if any NATO country fires or allows Ukraine to fire, I should say, long-range missiles deep into Russia, the UN is not going to back them. Now, this is idiocy. The UK is probably number 2 or 3 most. The most powerful NATO members would have to be America, France, and the UK. After that, you'd probably get into Germany, Italy. Those would be the big ones. Although Romania and Poland are not so lightweight either. So Putin named his targets yesterday, and he said he would start with Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria, which I think is the hubs of weapons transfer. And then he said if need be, we'll go on to Germany and America. What he'll do is likely start hitting the big American bases in Europe, closest to Russia and Ukraine. Okay. Another person, I think the foreign minister of Russia the same day, or approximately the same day, said that they would hit UK with missiles and destroy the 3 factories inside the UK that manufacture long-range missiles. UK has already openly given permission to Ukraine to hit deep inside Russia with their missiles. Trudeau of Canada says it's fine with him if Ukraine hits deep in Russia. So there's a lot of support for this. You got to remember that October 22nd, which is like what, less than a week away, Russia has their next, well, BRICS has their next summit where they're going to introduce the BRICS pay system, a digital currency, a blockchain like Bitcoin, those kind of things. And that's for use to the BRICS members to trade amongst themselves. And they're going to back it with a basket of commodities. That hasn't been announced yet, but the likely prospects are oil, natural gas, gold, wheat, and maybe other things that we don't know. So the country has to pledge, we post, so much oil, so many barrels or whatever's in the basket, and they convert that to a value and issue BRICS pay currency, however they denominate it. And that currency can be used to trade with another BRICS user of the system. And rest assured, they're going to be slow to let in Europeans using the euro, the Brits, the Americans. And Turkey has applied for membership, and they are a NATO member, and they might let Turkey in. Turkey's a Muslim majority country, so they think they could probably get along with it. So Turkey controls the Bosphorus Straits, which is used by Russia to go from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean and vice versa. And it's a pincher point, very easily controlled with artillery, missiles. It's a piece of cake. So they can pull Turkey into their system. And Turkey will probably never leave NATO on its own. They'll just keep trying to sabotage it, until they throw it out. So Turkey may shut the Bosphorus Straits off to America and the UK and NATO and let Russia and other countries use it. Now the 400 warships in the Asia-Pacific theater, not so far away from South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, is a training exercise, as they say, between China and Russia. And this is a massive naval force that could easily overwhelm and dominate the American Navy in the area, which is nowhere near as big. To convert this training exercise to an attack on Taiwan would be a piece of cake. And to have North Korea attack South Korea, well, they've been waiting for years to do that. And Japan will get sucked up in it. So we should talk about what Putin's best move is right now. He's taking it, trying to overrun Ukraine. He has Ukraine in his control, gets a great buffer zone between him and NATO, and he's not invaded by NATO or busted up with missiles striking deep in Russia. Now, I see no reason why at this late stage of the game, after maybe $1 trillion of weapons went into Ukraine, that America, NATO, and the UK, which are all NATO, are going to just sit back and say, well, Russia's going to take Ukraine, what can we do? Let's go home. Watch a movie, have a beer, go to sleep. You know, they're not going to do that. They're going to stop it somehow. They've got a force of 80,000 NATO soldiers they could rapidly deploy into Ukraine with air support of modern jets, missile support, artillery support, possibly naval support. They can do it. They can shore up Ukraine against Russia. NATO troops would now be fighting Russia. Basically a war. Now, if Russia gets to this level, he's got himself set up by Finland, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, you know, lots of troops in Kaliningrad, Belarus. Since Russia would be in the position of, you know, calling the shots as to where the theater of war can be, he could take his forces and easily attack weak NATO countries like Finland, Norway. He could hit Sweden, Latvia, Lithuania, and cause NATO to deploy a large amount of troops to those countries to save them from Putin. That would keep the NATO wolves off of Putin's back for a while. He would stretch them thin, at the same time stretch himself thin, and keep trying to conquer Ukraine, hoping it goes away. And NATO accepts him having Ukraine. They're not going to let that happen. They're just not. One soft way to stop it is just give a green light to Ukraine to start shooting the long-range missiles into Moscow and St. Petersburg at strategic tactical targets in that area and go deep into Russia, hitting bases, ammo depots, fuel depots, refineries, bridges, tunnels, train tracks, things like this. Highways, airports. And that will make Putin think twice about persecuting a big attack in Ukraine. But this is what you have to understand. Putin has no choice. NATO has been using Ukraine to drain his military and his weapons resources for now 2 years or so. It got to the point where Russia had to be getting weapons from North Korea, missiles, drones, and from Iran. Maybe Russia is saving his good stuff inside Russia to defend Russia if there's an incursion on his land from NATO. This I don't know. Okay? But let me tell you what I highly suspect is going to happen. I don't know exactly how it'll play out, but Putin will not be allowed to take out Ukraine and conquer the whole thing. They're not going to let him do it. Putin isn't stupid enough to go and kill 200,000 or 300,000 civilians to try to scare Ukraine. It won't work, and he'll get a bad reputation and make things worse for himself. So it's not going to happen. I think the first thing we'll see if there's a war with Russia, like NATO troops in Ukraine fighting Russian troops, or Russia attacking little countries like Finland, Latvia, Sweden, Norway, and they know that it's imminent, America's going to throw the kitchen sink at Russia. Iran will light up the Middle East. They'll attack all the UK and American bases in Syria and Iraq voraciously and heavily, and they'll try to take hostages and use them to bargain America to stand down. So Iran will hit the bases and America will have to retaliate because they're not going to be lightweight attacks with one missile or something like that. They're going to be like, 20, 30 missiles a base. And then they're going to try to overrun the bases. There's hundreds of thousands of Iran-backed Iran-backed militia in Iraq and Syria. They'll overrun the bases, which usually have 100, 200, 300 guys, not big bases. And they'll go for hostages, and they'll steal equipment from the base if they can, and take the base over and occupy it, and all kinds of other sicko things that they'll like doing. Rape of the women will be pretty profound. Men too, they rape. And if that doesn't get America to cool its heels, they'll start attacking American bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. And so the story will go. Now that will cause America to have to spread out her military resources to fighting in Europe and now fighting in the Middle East. If that tends to work, and it helps maneuver Russia into a position where they're not going to be taken out or taken over, It's a mess. Now, if Iran and Russia can't control things, then China will hit Taiwan, which it keeps saying it's going to do, and North Korea will hit South Korea, and Japan will be in on it. There's a high probability that when Russia has to go to war against NATO, it's imminent that Iran will open up fronts in the Middle East, and China will begin. And the idea would be to hit America, and North Korea would hit South Korea, so to hit them all at the same time and try to bring America to the bargaining table. What would it take for America to make peace with these countries? Well, number one, it would have to start treating minimally China and Russia as peers, as equals to them. Okay? Yes?
The soldier has no pulse in the leg they're trying to save.
Do you have the initials for him?
Huh?
Do you know what his initials are?
I told you before, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I just got a text,
All right.
and his life at this point is not at risk, but the leg is total at risk.
All right, guys. We prayed for a soldier that's a relative of a friend of ours here that got hit in the leg. I think it was an explosion that got him. And they were thinking they had to take his leg off, but maybe not. And we prayed for him probably 10 days ago or something like that. And everything looked pretty good. And I guess he was rehabilitating or something in the hospital. And he fell, is what I'm hearing. Now you gotta remember, we're hearing this from a relative that's rather distraught, let's say. So now the doctors are concerned that his leg has no pulse and he might have to lose his leg. His life is not a threat. His psychological state has been very poor. So I don't know the name of this soldier, but the Lord knows who it is. So could you pray for this soldier to not lose his leg and make a good recovery? This is what life is like here. Okay. See how this stuff travels around, and that's why we know military bases weren't decimated, ports weren't blown up. We all know this stuff with the scuttlebutt amongst each other in Israel, and it didn't happen. Okay. I have other prayer requests too, I don't want to forget. All right, we got a prayer request for J.H. Jack Hotel. J.H. Jack Hotel for healing. And let's try again for R.B. Romeo Bravo. R.B. Romeo Bravo prayer request for healing. Okay? I'm going to delete these. Okay. There's a guy, retired Colonel McGregor, a retired Army colonel from America, and I heard a video and he said he has a website called RE:public, like Republic, but RE and then a colon and then public. I can't find the website. I tried looking in Google. I don't know. I don't believe you can put a colon in a title of a website. So I don't know what it is. I tried looking for Republic. If anybody knows about this website, please send me an email or put it in the chat. Now, McGregor is a big anti-Semite, anti-Israel, and he's anti-U.S. government. and he's, I would say, a highly questionable figure. What his motives are probably, pro enemies of America and Israel. Um, but he does report facts at times, statistics and facts, and that's all he's good for. Listening to his, analysis and opinion is very tainted, slanted, and he's absolutely wrong. Okay, Ritter is another guy that does the same thing, anti-Israel and anti-America. It seems he's been investigated by the FBI. They took his computers not too long ago, so he's something wrong with him too. He's batting for the other team or something. I don't know. The Iranians. I don't know. All right, so thinking. We'll take a fast break and I'll see where we're going next with this. But you need to understand, guys, that this is real and that the United States has painted Putin and China and North Korea into a corner by wrecking their economies, Iran too, and they got to do something. Okay. The shooter that shot at Trump on the golf course never really shot at Trump on the golf course. He had a sniper rifle. He had backpacks full of tiles, which would stop bullets. And he was trying to set up, apparently, and spooked, and ran away, and somebody got a picture of his car, and they picked him up, and they're charging him with illegal possession of weapons because he was a felon, I believe. So that, like I told you yesterday, it didn't sound like something the White House did at all, and he was just a lone wolf, anti-Trump. If it was something the White House set up, he would have probably gotten killed or got away. He was all by himself. He had no extraction team. He had no hideout to go to. He was, Okay, so I don't know what he'll get in jail, probably 5 years, or I don't know what. He'll get a long sentence, I guess. There was another attempt that the FBI stopped. Some Palestinian guy was recruiting other anti-American people inside America to assassinate Trump and paying them like $5,000 apiece for their participation. And the FBI was on to him, and he was trying to hire some radicals to help him, and they were undercover agents to the FBI. Now, the way I heard it is they were not informants for the FBI, they were actual FBI agents under deep cover. And they busted him, so he's out of circulation. So there are a number of people that want to see Trump dead. We know that. Okay. That's for sure. But that doesn't mean they're going to kill Trump. It means they're interested in killing Trump. But both of these attempts, the Pakistani guy and the golf course shooter, really never got close. Okay, so Trump's still kicking, alive and well. Now, I imagine Trump is rather concerned, and knowing what I do about Trump, I imagine Trump hired some mercenary company or bodyguard company that has people working there that are retired Secret Service, or they perhaps were doing the same work as the Secret Service in another country. And they are probably advising Trump, independent of the Secret Service, about what kind of protection needs to be in place when he appears at a certain area. Now, these guys are only in an advisory capacity. They can't bodyguard Trump. They could arrive at the scene before Trump gets there, and Trump could ask the Secret Service to consult with them. And the Secret Service, because Trump being an ex-president and a candidate, would probably sit down and hear what they have to say. So they might have a meeting for 1 or 2 or 3 hours, and they would probably end it by saying, we'll take your concerns into consideration, but you have to remember we're in charge, you're not, you know. And they could feed back to Trump if they smell a rat. Well, Donald, this is imperative that they clear these rooftops, and they say they don't want to do it. So our advice to you strongly is not to appear in public out there, or to have the ballistic glass shields, or, you know, something like that. So this makes it easier for the Secret Service to, if they're going to do malfeasance, to get exposed. Because memos would go to them that this is wrong, you shouldn't do this, you know, very embarrassing memos that could send somebody to jail for the rest of their life. So, you know, it's, you know, I think working in a conspiracy to assassinate the president could go beyond murder into treason, sedition, and other things as well. So I would have guessed that Trump probably has a team of people. He can't have one guy because he schedules stops all over the place. So he might need as many as 6 or 8 of these people, so they could, you know, a team of 2 or 3 could go to one stop, a team of 2 or 3 could go to the next stop, and they could rotate. And, you know, Trump himself wouldn't really know much about how to bodyguard somebody and what the threats are, but the people he hires would be very fluent in it, you know. I don't think he would hire, on reflection, people from a foreign government, because they're at a great disadvantage. Like if you hired Mossad and you sent them to go work in America to do this, they would be greatly disadvantaged. They wouldn't quite be effective, you know. They would know the rules, you know, but they wouldn't get it, okay? So it's probably ex-Secret Service, and there's other agencies that do bodyguarding. The State Department does a lot of bodyguarding, and they're pretty good about it, you know. Military intelligence, because the president is the head of the military, commander-in-chief of all the military. They use their intelligence agencies to help bodyguard the president also, which would be, you know, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. So people in the military that have spent a number of years doing bodyguarding of high-ranking generals, dignitaries, and so forth would have great knowledge of the Secret Service and great knowledge of how the bodyguarding process works, which means they know how assassins from foreign countries work and where the vulnerabilities are and stuff like that. So that's another type of person Trump could hire. Secret Service people, when they don't even have to retire, they just got maybe 8 or 9 years on the job or something like that, they're going to pull a good $250,000 from very rich people and big corporations to hire them as security heads. They're not going to necessarily, they'll go with as a high risk with the principal they're trying to bodyguard, the rich guy or the corporate executive, but they're mostly planning, So they take jobs like that and they get gobbled up. I think they could probably just work, 4 or 5. Now there's low level, you got to be in the Secret Service a number of years till you get presidential detail, or probably until you get vice presidential. But Secret Service bodyguards many other people. So probably if you just had 4 years or so, and you didn't like it, and you wanted to quit and go in the private sector, you'd probably get a heck of a generous living. But, a lot of people that are highly competent in law enforcement, having as a young kid and been in law enforcement, they don't want to work for the feds. Why? Because I'm not talking they hate the feds, no. Why? Because it's moving around. They live in Biloxi, they live in Birmingham, they live in Jacksonville, they live in wherever. Mom and dad are there, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, the kids are in school, they know all the cops, they know the state police, they don't want to leave. And you don't know whether you're going to get put. So when you become a Fed, they can put you anywhere. So somebody from the deep south could wind up in Chicago or New York City or Los Angeles, and they'd hate it. Okay? And somebody that grew up in New York or Chicago or Miami can get placed in Idaho or Montana or Wyoming in the middle, in a very, well, they wouldn't be in a small town. There'd be no point to put a Fed in a small town. They would probably be in a medium-sized city or a large city there. Usually the Feds start you out in a medium-sized city. They don't put the newbies in small cities like, 70, 100,000, because there's not enough support in a city like that. So they'll usually put them in a city like 500 to 1 million, something like that. 500. So there's a lot of support of other agencies and their own agency and stuff like that. And then from there they can go to a big city. Now there's a lot of guys in these federal agencies, and if you sent them to Wyoming, the Dakotas, rural Utah or Idaho or all these places, or Washington, east of the mountain range, they'd be happy as a pig in stink. Because these guys love hunting and fishing. And if you see an FBI agent or an ATF agent or a ICE agent or Homeland Security agents traipsing around the woods out of hunting season with a hunting rifle, these guys know each other. So you think it's possible these guys go hunting and fishing out of season? It's not highly likely, but these characters could do it, okay? They probably have to use their service rifle, and if they get seen and questioned, they'll say, oh, I can't disclose, but I'm looking for somebody. I can't tell you who is classified, something like that. So it's unlikely they would ever get charged. Now, if he was seen with a bolt action, 7 millimeter hunting rifle with like a 3 to 9 power scope. And he had a sack to take the dead animal in, and then they might get ugly with him, but they just give him a warning. So anyway, the guy can, they like, even if they have to adhere to the seasons, they like the rural life. They like living out of town in a wooded area, fishing and hunting much of the year. They enjoy that, and they love going there, But they don't always do that. So if they recruit a guy from a rural area, they don't always send them to a rural area. So they'll send them into the cities, the big cities, of which America has hundreds, So it's maybe not hundreds, but 100 anyway. So and they don't keep them there too long. A few years, 2 to 4 years. If they keep them there too long, they root in. What does that mean? The kids are really deeply embedded in that school system. Them and themselves, them and their wives, or their husbands, if it's a woman agent, they're deeply embedded in the community with friends. They're in, Little League. They got canasta games, gardening clubs, things of this nature, right? And then they know all the law enforcement people in the community, so then they get an order to leave, let's say, Little Rock, and go to Detroit. The spouse and the agent sit there and look at each other, and they say, we don't want to go to Detroit. Our kids don't want to go to Detroit. This is stupid. Let's not go. So the only way out is request, that they don't be transferred there, and that might buy them a few months. And then they go to, and if they really need them, they may keep them there, but that gives them a lot of time to go to their buddies and another agency and look for some job in a state, a county, or a city agency where they are, and they probably will get one. So a lot of guys just don't want to do it, okay? So the feds don't always get the cream of the crop. The way the feds get their instructors, like shooting instructors and things like that, surveillance, counter surveillance, driving, explosives, things like that, is they recruit from the military and from local law enforcement agencies. And they find people that will move. Now, when you work as an instructor, you're going to work where the training base is. You're not moving you're going to stay there for 20 years. Now, some of these guys get made special agents. I'm not sure how and why that works. I expect they have to go through the academy. Others will just get some kind of a badge and credentials that are just going to say they're an instructor. Some are actually special agents. Maybe they give them credit for their training, the time on the job, because they're not really going out in the field. I don't know how they do it. So the feds are not always getting the cream of the crop. You got to understand that. There's a lot of great law enforcement people, if you like law enforcement, which I don't, because they become horrible. In the last 25 or 30 years, they become awful, okay? They're no longer what they were designed to be. They're something else. They don't care about the people. They isolate themselves from the people. They have friends amongst themselves, relatives and friends in law enforcement, relatives that they open up to. And they don't care about the people. They victimize the people. They're callous. They'll pull people over for tinted windows and hit them with $900, $1,200 fines. They'll get people for speeding and give them massive fines. They'll bother people about not having insurance, not getting a safety inspection, not the smog, not all that. They're just horrible people. They become horrible. They make life in America bad. They don't protect people anymore. You feel safe in America? No, they don't protect people. Okay? Those days are over. Okay? People don't feel safe. They don't. When I was like a college kid, you used to be able to drive around in New York with convertible cars. Lots of people had convertible cars. They were so popular. They were probably, I don't know, 1 in 25 was a convertible, maybe. It was all kinds of families would buy convertibles. It was nice on a nice day. Drive around in a convertible. It's really nice. But today you can't do it in most of America because people will come up on you and rob you. Carjack you, rob you, take your phone, your wallet, and you can't do it. I mean, you could sit there and have a pistol between your legs, and when they come up, boom, boom, and then you got what? $20,000-$30,000 legal bill and inquest. And, I mean, what do you want that for? So you can still use a convertible, like keep the top up, and if you have a garage, you park it in the garage, you're okay. You can't really park it on the street very easily. And you can get in the convertible and get on the freeway and take trips, and you're okay that way. Who's going to jump on you when you're going 70 miles an hour, and then when you get off and you're on local streets, pull over, put the top up, and put the windows up. It's, but convertible sales are rather low. Even with cars like the Corvette, I don't even know if they make a convertible top anymore. I think they make them with a panel that could come off. Which isn't that bad. If you got the panel, you take the panel up and you put the windows up, but that's not the same thing as a convertible. It's got a rear window, it's not the same, One of the kids when we grew up, she was a girl, she had her father bought her a few-year-old Lincoln Continental convertible, and I remember, like 6 or 7 of us would pile in and drive around in that thing. It was a lot of fun, It was a lot of fun. I mean, you're sitting there, it's like driving around in your living room, and the thing's all open. It's nice, especially in a nice, cool, but still warm summer evening or springtime. Convertibles are nice, but they're gone. People don't feel safe. The police just harass the honest people. They don't do anything to the real criminals, So, okay, that's what's going on. Let me check the chat and we'll start opening it up with prophecy. There's a lot of people that go around reporting news to you, okay, but they don't show you, they can't show you what's going to happen because they don't understand the Bible. All they know is some of them spit out Ezekiel 38:39, which is not for today. And, buy survival food, buy survival this, that's all they do. But yeah, they get news. Do they get honest, real news? They do, but they don't know what to do with it. Oh, this looks concerning. This looks scary. Oh, this looks bad. Oh, in a month or two, we're going to be in a world war. They don't get it. Why is the war coming? They don't have any Bible knowledge, Bible skills, and they don't have much analytical skills as to what's going on either. Even in the secular realm, all they can do is report events. They don't really know how to tie it together. Now, some can sort of kind of tie it together, but they can't put it together with the prophecies. Okay, let me check our chat live stream and see if we got questions, because I do like to answer questions as long as there's some relevance to what we're talking about. Uh, they've found subs up by Alaska, Russian subs, I guess, and I'm sure Hawaii's under threat. I don't think the United States really cares too much about, Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to attack them, and I don't think they really care about it unless there's military installations there. There's a guy here with from the river to the sea. It's just, see, they think that they're going to scare us. Gaza's a shambles. Sinwar's hiding for his lives. Gaza's been demolished. We're in the year of recompenses, which is not a precise year. It's like a year, It's hard to say it's in Hebrew. There's no real word like that in English. It's Stan Lee. Okay, now that guy, let's throw some tossed salad his way, and I'll block him. Gaza's a busted up parking lot, not a good parking lot. Do we think Guam is under threat? I would say absolutely, because Guam has a big air base for American forces there. So yeah, it would be under heavy threat, I guess. But I think if we're going to see the Asia Pacific theater light up, you're going to see initially an attack on Taiwan and probably an attack on South Korea by North Korea simultaneously. And the Chinese and the Japanese have very bad blood amongst themselves, and I most wholeheartedly expect to see China engage Japan, and Japan will engage China if they hit Taiwan or South Korea. So you'll see initially these three countries fighting. And again, China is selecting the territory. North Korea attacks South Korea, so the fight's in North and South Korea. China attacks Taiwan, the fight's in Taiwan. China attacks Japan, the fight's in Japan. Nobody's fighting in China. That's important to China. Russia invades Ukraine like he did now, and then NATO dumps troops and weapons and everything into Ukraine. So China's deflected the fighting into Ukraine, not inside China. The two countries in this little show here that are going to get hurt is the fighting will be inside North Korea. South Korea is a tough guy, you could say. Lots of good weapons, American base there. It used to be 28,000 on the base. It's probably 30 or 40,000 now. Maybe not, but probably is. They got aircraft, helicopters, planes, artillery, tanks, everything. So the fight will definitely be going into North Korea. South Korea has their own air force and they have planes and everything. Japan is a pretty tough force to deal with. They got aircraft and navy and everything else, and they'll be in the fight, but I don't think they could do anything like try to invade China by themselves and get anywhere with it. So they'll just be fighting in the area. Okay, and so the fight will be Taiwan, Japan, and North South Korea. China and Russia don't care that much about North Korea, and they don't care that much about Iran. They would like to help them and keep them alive, but they don't care that much about them. It's China and Russia that are the big industrial players. Okay, they're the most important to themselves. Then you have a lower tier down, which is Cuba, Venezuela, Belarus, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen. They don't care about them one way or the other. Okay. Sure, they want to keep them, but these are pawns in the game that could be disposed of for a better strategy. So they're not worried about them. Iran is probably not going to be able to pick the territory outside of Iran. They're going to get hit in Iran. Okay. Russia can attack the small, weaker NATO countries and deflect the fighting from inside Russia to these other countries. And that's the game that Russia will undoubtedly play. Okay? So, I don't see, I think I'm current on questions. The big thing is, will they hit America? Yeah, they will. Will they hit Europe? Yeah. Will they hit UK? Yeah, they're going to do all that. It's going to go complete, okay? You're not going to just have a little war someplace. The whole thing's going to go. China can't wait to get their teeth into Taiwan. North Korea wants to get South Korea. Japan, China would love to get rid of Japan, occupy it, take it over, keep their factories. Iran wants to cause all kinds of problems for Israel. The chances of peace here are pretty nil. Now, if Hochstein says, oh, we want to go here and we want to occupy, well, Israel's going to occupy up to the Litani River, we're going to push Hezbollah back, and that's going to be the extent of the war, Hezbollah is not going to agree to that. And then there has to be troops kept there to keep them away. So that means Israel's going to occupy. That means it's a red flag for Turkey and Iran. Now, the UN could come forth and say, well, wait a minute. America and Israel are enforcing the UN mandate to keep Hezbollah away from their border north of the Litani River, 17 miles from the border. Well, what about the UN mandate for Israel to get out of the West Bank, give it back to Syria? What about Israel to get out of not just the Golan, but the West Bank and East Jerusalem, which they're occupying illegally? Let's enforce that too. See, Russia, China, and the like will start moving that into play. But with war going on, I doubt they'll bother. The UNFIL troops have already been in Lebanon for years, and Hezbollah happened. So to say, well, the UN troops are here, they'll take care of it, is stupid. To say, well, we'll put UN troops here and they'll protect it, is stupid. They don't. So the only thing that's going to work is Israel occupies a piece of Lebanon. But we know what's going to happen from Bible prophecy. They're going to go all the way up to Lebanon. We also know in Jeremiah 49 that Elam is going to be destroyed, which is parts of Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and they leave their country. It's busted up so bad. So the three countries that I think would be the ones busting it up right now would be Israel, UK, and America. And it could have other countries too. Okay. Russia, we don't read a tremendous amount in Bible prophecy, but I'm pretty sure they're going to go. Okay. They've been against Israel for a long time. Now, let's go into Revelation, and we'll start with Revelation 18, and then we'll go back to 17, okay? Revelation 18 is showing us what likely would happen with the Russian and Chinese subs off the coast of America. Bingo. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The birds are represented because they fly in the air in the heavens. They mean the demons. Okay. So when did this happen? I don't know. Civil War, maybe. Very likely after World War II, probably. Right about the time Israel was formed, I guess. I'm guessing, but I would say maybe that's when it happened. Or it could have happened back in 1812 or something. I don't know. It could have happened when they started with the Indian Wars, wiping out the Indians, who are likely lost tribes. That Satan would know. Satan saw the 12 tribes of Israel and knows what they look like. So, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. This is spiritual fornication. They conquered Japan, and the Emperor of Japan met with MacArthur, and oh, you're going to punish us, okay, what's the punishment? And he says, no, I'm not going to punish you. You know, we want to rebuild you. So what happened? They pulled Japan into the Whore of Babylon under America. Okay? We have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and power unto, no, wait, I skipped the line, salvation, and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. That probably in Hebrew would read Jehovah Elohim. For true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath now judgments. So let me give you a pointer here when you try to understand prophecy. You got to obey the statutes and the judgments. That's what it says throughout Scripture with the law, the statutes and the judgments. In Hebrew, they call the statutes a mitzvot because it's a good deed to do it. These are the commandments of the law. The judgments are what do you do to an adulterer, a witch, a thief, you know, what do you do to a person like this? In Gog and Magog, I believe when we see the people, not just Jeremiah 38:39, Ezekiel 38:39, when you read Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, which is also Gog and Magog, and you read Zechariah 14, which is also Gog and Magog, you see the people doing bad things in and around the temple, and they go unchecked. See, the Israelites should have laid hands on those. Those people doing the bad things, writing abominations on the wall of the temple, going in the inner courtyard near the altar and turning their back on the temple and praying to the sun god. They should have given them judgments. They should have given them the penalties for breaking that law, and apparently they didn't. because they were probably overwhelmed with so many people doing it. They couldn't, I don't know. And that's what brings it on. That's the great falling away. It's not just the falling away, it's a great falling away. So a lot of them are going to fall away. Okay? That's worthy of note, I think. For, let me find where I was now. Oh, I'll just pick it up in two. I changed chapters. That was my problem. Okay, 18. Now I can find where I was. Now we're in verse 3, Revelation 18:3. For all nations, all goyim, the heathens, have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, spiritual, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. Well, this is very much right out of Jeremiah 50:51, the next great exodus to Israel, that the believers will come on with the lost tribes and Judah and everyone else, the true believers. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquity, her lawlessness. These are the sins of America. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. Give her a double portion of the wrath of the Lord. How much she hath glorified herself. That's America. And live deliciously. Well, y'all don't live deliciously, but the elite do. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. So this is going to happen in one day. Plagues. In one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Because the people didn't judge her, he judges her. See, in Jeremiah 50:51, we read, the Lord says he will kindle fires in and about her cities. America is going to suffer from tremendous burning. And the people are going to be holed up in their, wherever they are, holed up. And they're going to be afraid to come out and afraid to fight. You ask yourself, why didn't the Jews fight back during the Holocaust? Probably the same thing hit them. They were too afraid to fight. So all these people with the guns and the bullets and all this, that they're going to be afraid to fight because there's overwhelming odds against them, probably, or the Lord puts something on them and they're just too afraid to fight it. They're going to get killed. All the people that stay there are going to get killed. And it's fire that's going to get it, and they're going to get killed. But it starts with the destruction of Washington, D.C., as I'm going to keep illustrating. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. See, all around America, there's a massive amount of cargo ships, merchant marine vessels, tankers, grain ships, container ships, this ship, that ship. They're all there waiting to offload. Sometimes they wait many days to offload. And they just stay out in the harbor. Well, they're going to see the burning. Now, combine this with all the Russian and Chinese submarines around America and their missile launch capability, and what do you come up with? Stand afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. It's a city, and it gets judged in 1 hour. Now we're going to develop this a little bit further, but I want to explain to you, Washington, D.C. is not part of any of the 50 states. Okay? It is a city run by the federal government. That's your great city. Now, let's take this a little further and get into some of the dirt, the American dirt, okay? And I'm going to do this in a way that you're going to be able to understand it and you're not going to doubt it. First thing we want to look for or look at is the Columbia Motion Pictures icon. And I've got a reasonably decent, it's a dark picture. Let's see if I can get a brighter one. Maybe this is brighter. This is the Columbia Motion Pictures icon. Okay? It's a woman that's flat-chested, which is questionable if it's a woman. And it's on a pedestal up high. And it's holding a torch. So it's come to the light. Okay? And it's on a pedestal. And it's a woman-looking thing without breasts. How curious. What are we talking about here? Why is that the case? Very interesting, isn't it? Now, the name of this woman is obviously Columbia. What is Washington, D.C.? It's the District of Columbia. It's not part of the United States. It's a city. It's a district. It's a city. And it's called Columbia. Who's Columbia? The whore. That's who. As we'll get to. Why do I say it's the whore? Because the Bible tells us it's the whore. If we go into the previous chapter, the very last verse, which is Revelation 17, verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay? That's your Washington, D.C. Who the heck else could it be? See what I'm saying? Now, let's keep digging. Now we see what is probably the same. Oh, not a good picture. Let me find it. I'm not getting a good picture. Hold on, I gotta get. Google Images can be pretty junky at times. So let me find a good image for us. It's not bad, but boy, I'm clicking on images and I'm getting something else. What? Oh, I didn't go into images. That's why. Okay, we'll fix that. Ah, there we are. Okay, here's our Statue of Liberty in New York City Harbor. It's a flat-chested female on a pillar, held up, revered, holding the light, come to the light. Those pillars make this very identical to Roman and Greek temples. So this is a place of worship for the unclean spirit serving people. And this is your same Columbia. And it also appears on the roof of the Capitol building, which I can show you. I'll show you more than one image. Here's one, and it has the pillars of the Roman and Greek temples too, and it has a bird on the head, which is some demonic symbolism, holding a sword and a helmet. Another flat-chested woman. Let's go back and find some other pictures of this. Where'd this go? Boy, Google's in rare form today. This is not a great picture, but it shows you the statue on the roof of the Capitol. I'm having trouble with Google. I'm clicking on stuff and it's moving around. Let me try over here. This is a very good picture. You can see it on the roof of the Capitol with the pillars like a Greek and Roman temple. This is an idol worship thing. And here it is, very plain with the pillars. It's a flat-chested woman again. And if it's put on the roof of the Capitol building, could you imagine how powerful it is in their minds? So this is all Columbia, okay? They've named this great city after this flat-chested woman, if you want to call it a woman, Columbia. They put it up in the New York Harbor, where the immigrants used to come in, and now they come in through Texas. They used to come in over there and they'd see, you know, freedom and, you know, give me your burdens. Yeah, it was demonic, you know. God doesn't use graven images like that. Okay? So, all right, back into Revelation 18:10. Standing afar off, for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. That's just DC. I don't think the attack is going to be limited to only Washington, DC. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner of vessels, all manner, just as vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble, and cinnamon and odors and ointments, odors, perfumes, expensive perfumes, incense, ointments, skin creams, and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts. They buy expensive racehorses for $1,000,000, Brabant bulls, camels, and sheep, prize sheep, and horses, well, we said horses, and chariots, that could be sports cars, I don't know, and slaves and souls of men. Think about Epstein. So you see the Americans, the elite, consume massive amounts of these rare, precious goods. They have money they really don't know what to do with while they get the believers to live on subsistence. They starve you. That's why they're going to be your slaves and servants, and you're going to be richer than they were and happier than they ever were. Very soon. Could be days, weeks. And the fruits that thy soul lusteth after art departed from thee. See, they import fruit all year round. So whatever the rich people want to get, it's not out of season. They just bring it in from another part of the world. So you could get cherries or blueberries or strawberries all year round, That thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee. Now that could mean the spoilers came and looted them. Okay, which is already beginning with the TDA Venezuela gang. It's just at the very onset, though. And thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off, for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Well, stand afar off gives me the impression they're on the mainland someplace far away. For the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, because they lost their market. That's what these hundreds and hundreds of ships are doing, docked up, waiting to offload in America, is deliver their goods that they sell to the Americans. It's everything. But you don't usually buy that stuff. You don't have that kind of money. These people buy rings for $10, $20 million just for a ring. They're loaded. And saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off. Okay? As many as trade. So they're standing off. Now, are they off in the ocean? Well, you might take that interpretation. It could be they're standing on the ships, but standing, when it says stood, it sounds like they're on land, but it could be either way. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this city? Now, a big burning of DC, you might see it in New York and in South Carolina and all of that, right? You see it for hundreds of miles, like you see forest fires. And they cast dust on their heads and cried weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is in 1 hour. So does that sound like subs launching missiles? What do you think? Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets. For God hath avenged you on her. It's the spirit thing that is going after, okay? It's a spiritual thing that's being avenged. Because, the United States government didn't kill any apostles, okay? And they were gone way before, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. But this is very, very reminiscent at the end of Jeremiah 51, where he takes the book and throws it in the water. Okay? And it sings. And the voice of the harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be no more found in thee. He's speaking of the whole daughter of Babylon, the whole United States now, not just DC. And the light of a candle shall shine no more in thee, at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. See, that's how they sell things. That's how they sell motion pictures, music, cars, and everything. They do with witchcraft and sorcery to get the people to buy it. I'll be right back. Fast break. America's loaded with witchcraft. Look at the TV shows and the movies. Remember, Epstein operated in America, Anton LaVey, the Church of Satan, the Satan Bible, that was in America. The Church of Satan Church, was in the avenues in San Francisco. I drove by it 1,000,000 times. They always used to keep their blinds closed, keep it dark. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that was slain upon the earth. This is going back through history. Okay, now we're going to go to the previous verse and take a look about what we can glean out of that, which is Revelation 17. Now, Revelation 17 is going to be a bit more complicated to understand. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Waters of peoples, nations, peoples really, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. America has pulled these countries in, okay? The whore is a representation and an image, you might say, of the great city, Washington, D.C., which runs the show of the world. Well, not so much in recent years, but it did for a long time. So he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, like Washington, D.C., and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Oh, you know what they do there, and many other countries, because she's influenced them. So, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. The word mystery is not the best translation. It's secret Babylon the Great. Okay, they're into secrecy. The mother of harlots, of whores, spiritual fornication whores, and abominations of the earth. Well, Epstein, and others, And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of this. It's much deeper than Epstein. I'm just not putting a shopping list up here, but you know what most of it is. I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. This was a spiritual vision, okay? And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery or the secret of the woman, and of that's Colombia, and the capital of America, and of the beast that carries her. She rides on the beast. The beast is promoting what's called the whore system, which is what? It's democracy, Federal Reserve banks, worthless money, okay, and false churches, okay? That's what it is. And the beast, as you soon see, is no longer interested in going this way because it's not working. What is scaring the beast and Satan the most is Israel. They can't get rid of Israel, and that scares them. The beast that thou sawest was, so he existed on earth, and is not, he's down in the pit, perdition, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. And you see that in Revelation 13. And go into perdition when Yeshua returns at the end of the second 70, picks the beast and the false prophet get thrown into the lake of fire. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. So they're going to wonder how this beast got killed, because they think he's so powerful. And he kills the two witnesses, but when Yeshua returns, that's it. Into the lake of fire they go. When they behold the beast that was, he was up on earth, and is not, he's in the pit right now, and yet is, and he'll come back up. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Now, I don't believe mountains are countries. I believe they're continents. And Satan is the god of this age. They say this world, but the real word is ion. It means age. A-I-O-N in Greek, transliterated to English. And it means age. Okay? So all the leaders of all the countries are with him. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on the which the woman sitteth. Well, she's in charge of all the countries. All the countries are being run with false religions. You've got Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, you've got Satanism, you've got communism, you've got churchianityism, and you got Talmudic Judaism, and this is the plan is phony religions, okay? Satan doesn't like that. Satan loves idolatry. So when the beast and the false prophets start up, what you're going to have is a statue made that comes to life, and they got to worship the statue and take the mark of the beast. So it's revolves around idolatry. It gets away from these anti-idolatry religions, although Buddhism and Hinduism are idolatrous. And 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and that was a long time ago. And 1 is, which is probably the beast, and the other is not yet come. No, one is, the other that is not yet come, I believe, is the beast. When he cometh, he must continue a short season. I believe that's the beast. Or it could be referencing Satan, I'm not sure. And the beast that was, I think it would be the beast, not Satan. And the beast that was, it could be though, and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Of the 7, because he used to work by supporting the whore. She rode on him. That means he was carrying her, supporting her. She was dominating him, you might even say, but it doesn't say that in Scripture. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. Now, people are going to say it's BRICS, but the members of BRICS are pretty much going to get destroyed in Jacob's trouble, Zechariah 12. So, Jeremiah 30, verse 11, I wouldn't say it's BRICS. Which receive no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings. See, the 10 in BRICS have a kingdom, but it says they'll have no kingdom, so it's not BRICS. But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. They that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples. See, the waters represents many people. And multitudes, again, people. And nations, again, people. And tongues, different languages they spake. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Okay, the 10 horns will hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Okay, so now we see the 10 horns, which are the, I guess, the 10 kings, 10 countries, that don't have a kingdom yet, but they might have a country, I guess. I have to adapt this. They're going to hate the whore and make her desolate. Now, who is this? How can we figure out who these 10 are? It's going to be very difficult. Let me tell you who we know they are, okay? Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, Cuba, Venezuela. I'm up to 6 now, right? Iraq, Syria, now I'm up to 8. And I guess we'd go with maybe Egypt and Yemen, just as a guess. That would give us 10. So these 10 countries, which may not be that, may be other countries, are going to make America desolate, which is consistent with Jeremiah 50:51, and naked, which is consistent with Isaiah 47, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Well, the burning is consistent with Jeremiah 50:51. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree. They get together, they have a consortium. Like Psalm 83, they form a confederate against Israel. It's something like that. And give their kingdom, the ones that hate Israel hate America, by the way. And give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And that the only candidate there is Washington, D.C. So, the only thing I could really tell you is that the other people don't put this together for you. And they actually don't talk about the sleeper agents in America anymore, do they? It's hard as heck to find any of these people talking about it. Why would they all stop talking about it? The problem is just getting worse. Now, not all. I'd say probably 85, 90% of them will stop talking about it. Why have they? Well, Satan. They're with the enemy. They're all working in unison. Not everybody has stopped it, though. There's others, not just me, that keep talking about it, but the people tend to. The people in America are getting overwhelmed. It's, so much stuff is coming at them from so many different directions. They don't know what to do. They're just confused and bewildered and beaten down. Any significant U.S. Air Force base or bases targetable, threatened? Well, I guess they'll have their bases they want to go after, long-range bombers and things like that. America's been flying B-52s over America. I don't know why they're doing that, unless it's a threat to their enemies that, you know, if you blow all our bases up, we still got B-52s in the air, and they'll have refueling tankers with them, and they'll come and drop bombs on your head. I don't know what else. But there's tons of fighter jets in the skies over America, and I think that's to take down missiles. I don't think that America has that many anti-missile missiles inside America. I think they put them on bases around the world, and I don't know how they're going to do on this. We're going to find out. You know, the missile takedown systems in reality are probably about 75% effective. You can't accomplish 100% effectiveness, in my opinion. And the opinion of many experts. It's just not attainable. So it does not have to be the case that Russia's going to launch these missiles and boom, we're going to see this prophecy be fulfilled. It may not happen, but it looks good, doesn't it? It looks like it will. But again, it may not, but it looks like it will. So let's wait and watch. Let's wait and watch. Wars are building up, and the Lord shortens the time for the sake of us, for the ones he loves. So that's why it's dragging, and it's going to happen quick when it happens. Okay. Should you leave America now? Well, in Jeremiah 30:11, God says he's going to destroy all the nations he exiled the Israelites into. Well, that would be 100, 125 nations. But for all get up, I can't find for sure any nations that the Lord never exiled the Israelites into. I would say Antarctica would definitely be, well, I think, we don't know how bad they obliterated the history books, but I think that the Israelites never went to Antarctica, but people were living down there. They had good farmland and stuff like that. So maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I think the Israelites have been in every South American, Central American country for living. you could find a country like that, you know, and you knew for sure you could go live there because it'll be unscathed, but I don't know where they are or who they are. Coming to Israel is rough. The only realistic way you would come to Israel now would be to come as a tourist, and you'd have to be renewing your visa every 90 days. So you'd have to go out of Israel, probably for 1 or 2 weeks. You could go to Romania, Poland, Czech Republic. Places like that are pretty cheap if they're still around. I don't know. If they're still around, and stay there for a couple of weeks to make it look good, and then come back and get another 90 days, you know. You have no certainty about that, and you don't know. And you wouldn't be able to get in the healthcare system because they usually would want you to, if you're not making Aliyah as a Jew, they would want you to wait 6 months before you could use the healthcare system, and you wouldn't have a 6-month visa. So every time you left the country and came back, the 6-month clock would start again because your visa expired, so your membership in the healthcare system expires. Until you're a citizen, then it doesn't expire. So if you're here on 1-year visas and your visa expires and you don't get it renewed for another week, you know, the government's not going to do much to you at all, but you would see your healthcare benefits. You'd get an SMS message that they canceled them, but when you get your visa renewed, it'll reinstate, you know. So health insurance would be about out. It would be costly. You would need to have a furnished apartment, I assume, with dishes and towels and linen for the bed. And something like that in a 2-bedroom status would, anything you'd like, it'd probably be $1,500-1,800 a month. A dump would be $1,100-1,200. I mean, a real dump with garbage, you know, wicker furniture, lousy beds, ripped sheets, worn out towels. You know, you wouldn't want it. These places will come with a hot plate, usually with 2 burners, which you can cook on. They're a little slow, but they work. And it would probably come with a coffee maker of some sort, or a small refrigerator, and a microwave. So what we did in our guest house, which we don't rent out now, but what we did over there is we put in a very, very excellent convection oven, a small microwave. It has a small full-size refrigerator, not as big as the big giant ones, but it's a full size, like what I had when I grew up in New York. My parents had. It's quite adequate. 2 people could load it up with all kinds of food. You know, 4 people have used it. It's quite adequate. And we have a 2-burner hot plate. And there's a air fryer as well. And then we have dishes, pots, pans, you know, the things you hold hot dishes with, those padded little square things. We got towels, bed linens, pillows, flat screen TV, high-speed Wi-Fi in the Zimmer, in the guest house. And we have big patio to eat outside. We got grills, gas grills, barbecues, organic garden, but we don't rent it out right now, not during the war. But we could get easy 1,800 for it. It has very good furniture. Nice beds, orthopedic beds, you know, really good stuff, okay? And the big patio in the garden, and it would get maybe even 2,000 a month, but it needs repairs in the structure, the roof, and the walls, and we're both getting on in years, and it's really hard for us to clean it and have the people here and make them happy, and it's a little bit difficult for us right now, so we don't use it. We just use it for friends and relatives, really. I'd like to start renting it again, but it's during the war. Well, what stopped us was COVID. That nailed it shut for a long time, and then the war. In between, we did have some people stay here that were known to us, more like friends. But between COVID and the war, there's just no market for this. Tourism is, I imagine a lot of these tour companies are gone, you know. I don't know. So it's expensive to get a temporary place here, guys. I don't think it's feasible for most of you. If some of you have generous retirement income and savings and you wanted to do it, it would be difficult for you. You'd have to try to buy traveler's insurance, which if you're elderly probably is going to be difficult, but you might be able to get that. And it might just cover accidents and traumas, not, pre-existing conditions. Probably wouldn't cover that. And you could rent yourself a nice house of which you're going to pay good money. And you could rent a car. You don't need an Israeli driver's license. They'll rent you the car. And you could buy food and, and stay here. And then at 90 days, one time jump on a plane, go to Romania. And you might enjoy it there. I've been there. It's not bad. Hang out for 2 weeks, and you come back for 3 months. And next time you could go to there's some interesting places you could go. You could go to India. You could go, go to Asia. You could also, find a lot of other. You can go to Poland, which is cheap. I think Czechoslovakia, what they call it now, is cheap. There's places you could go that's not expensive over there in Europe. You could go to Italy, but that's not dirt cheap. But Italy's only like Rome. I think it's 2.5. I think it's 2.5 hours from here. Romania is a little bit more, maybe 3.5 hours, or maybe not even. Poland is, I think, 2.5 to 3 hours. It's easy to get to these places. If you want to sit on the plane longer, you could go to Portugal, which is cheap, Spain, which is not expensive right now. So, there's places you could go, and the longer you stay in these places, the easier it's going to be when you come back. But I would say at least 2 weeks. If you went a few days, they'll look at you back so soon. If you come in 2 weeks, they might mention something to you. Or, you could stay away for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I doubt they would ever bring it up. Now, if you got an EU passport, you can't really play this game that well, because they do to Israel, well, Israel does to the EU what the EU does to Israel. So you can come in for 90 days, and then you have to leave for 90 days. Then you can come back for 90 and leave for 90. So I think if you've got an EU passport, they'll shut you down on the renewal, unless you wait 90 days, So I don't think it's a viable plan to move to Israel. I think God has that shut down. Um, he certainly doesn't want the place filling up with churchianity, and it's not. It's rather absent here. Messianic congregations, you see, and that's a form of churchianity, but churchianity is rare here. It exists. There's some Catholic installations, and the Baptists have one. Assemblies of God have one. There's very few. The Russian Orthodox have something. The Greek Orthodox have something. Not much. I don't know any other way to. I mean, you could get a student visa, you could get a work visa, but I mean, this is kind of pretty hard and rare to happen. So you could work as a volunteer for a kibbutz, a mashav, or some other public service group that brings volunteers in, but they rarely take anybody over 30. They're looking for single people that have emotional problems, like they had a breakup with a girlfriend, boyfriend, or they get fired from a job or something, and they just want just a rest, So anyway, it's not an easy thing to do, so I wouldn't do that. And I'll research if it's possible. I expect it's not possible to, beyond the shadow of a doubt, locate countries where the Israelites were never scattered into them, because I don't know where they are. I mean, I don't. The Bible's not telling us. It tells us places where they were, but go find places where they weren't. Were they ever on the Christmas Islands, for instance? Okay, were they ever in Ghana? I don't know. I have no idea. I think they were in most, if not all, the Middle East countries, but perhaps not all of Africa and not all of Asia. Guys, I don't know. I think you just go with what the Bible says and not worry. He's going to take care of you, get you out. When the time comes, you'll hit the road. And you'll go into the wilderness first, and then pass under the rod, enter into the bond of the covenant, and then become, part of it, part of Israel. So, I don't know what else to tell you. I over the years, I've pondered this, researched it, thought about it. If somebody were to hire you, you had a skill set to work as what they call a metapellet, a live-in caretaker for an elderly person. The person would need to be disabled, certified disabled by the government, and the government would pay to some extent for this person. But the person would need training, which Israel's not going to do. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm Moshe, and please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our good health. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for our finances. We could use help there. Keep praying for my packages to get through easily. And pray, toss salad for those that might be interfering with my packages, okay? And all the entities interfering. Give them some tossed salad, maybe whole enchiladas to go along with it. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. The new birds, the one that had the hole in the chest from the idiot breeder that put the food in the microwave too hot and fed it to the poor young baby bird, it seems to have turned the corner and is not going to die. When he got here, it looked like it was going to die, but we prayed yesterday, and he's been getting fed like every hour he gets a little food. So the food, is not leaking out because there's very little frequently, so he's able to absorb it and get energy. The cute little guy, very nice temperament bird, don't want to see the poor guy die. And we're taking care of another bird until it could have an operation. A bird had a severe trauma. I don't think any person abused the bird. I think the bird tried flying and crashed into something and broke its wing in several places. And the way it looks now is it's going to be a wing amputation from a vet, which they do because the bird just stays in the cage after that. And birds in cages, even a large cage, don't really fly, so it's probably going to be fine. But we can pray that the bird with the broken wing recovers without the amputation, if you would. The bird that we have with the broken wing recovers without the amputation. If you could pray for that, it would be nice. So it's a nice bird too. The vet is unavailable to do it right now for other reasons, war related, I guess you could say. So, yeah, so that's, pray for better videos and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. I hope you got something out of this. And, I'm 2.5 hours, I think, not so bad. Okay, guys, I really hope you got something out of it. My videos are on the YouTube channel in the live section, and they got lots of Bible studies in there. You can look through them. And please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'm out.